1962, Detroit, Michigan. A crate left a factory. Inside, it was an engine, 413 cubic inches, two 4-barrel carburetors, upswept exhaust manifolds punching straight through the hood. Chrysler knew exactly what it was, so they wrote it down, right there in the owner's manual. Wide-open throttle bursts must be limited to 15 seconds to prevent engine damage. 15 seconds! That is a quarter mile. They sold it anyway, voided the warranty before you left the lot, on paper, in writing. What Chrysler built next made that engine look like a warm-up act. June 7, 1957. The Automobile Manufacturers Association issued what they called a recommendation. No factory involvement in racing, no engineering support, no sponsored teams. They called it a gentleman's agreement. It was theater. General Motors broke it quietly. Ford walked out loudly in June of 1962, launching the Total Performance campaign without apologizing to anyone. Chrysler needed a different approach, not just a faster engine, a legal architecture for pretending they were not involved. The answer was a piece of paper. Tom Hoover was Chrysler's racing engine project coordinator. Physics degree from the Chrysler Institute, founding member of the Ram Chargers, a drag racing club run entirely by Chrysler engineers on their own time. When Chrysler President Lynn Townsend called the engineering department and asked why Dodges and Plymouths had no presence at the strip, Hoover answered the phone. What they built was the 413 Max Wedge, short ram intake manifold, twin 4-barrels, 410 or 425 horsepower. The factory tech bulletins were blunt about what this engine was. Wide-open throttle bursts must be limited to 15 seconds to prevent engine damage. And the owner's manual, the long-duration camshaft, provides maximum high-speed output. However, it causes a rough idle and lazy low-speed response. The gas mileage of a conventional car cannot be expected. That is not a performance disclaimer. That is a confession. Chrysler sold this engine in street-legal cars, voided the warranty on the race components at the point of sale, then sent their engineers to race weekends as private individuals. Factory parts flowed through dealer channels, technical support came through back channels, and if anyone asked, Chrysler pointed to the paper, the one you signed on the way out. In July of 1962, a Plymouth Savoy running the 413 ran 11.93 seconds at the quarter mile, first factory stock car to break into the 11s. The Mopar faithful called it the Melrose Missile. By 1963, they bored the block to 426 cubic inches, 415 or 425 horsepower, still understated. The warranty void was still on the paperwork. The Max Wedge was fast. Hoover wanted something else. Chrysler had built hemispherical head engines since 1951. The architecture was abandoned in '58. Hoover's team spent 1963 bringing it back. The concept: valves angled in opposite directions inside a dome-shaped combustion chamber. Better airflow, more complete combustion, more power. They grafted new hemispherical heads onto the 426 block, cross-ram intake, dual 4-barrels, 12.5-to-1 compression. They called it the Race Hemi. The name was accurate. It debuted at Daytona, February 23, 1964. NASCAR's technical inspectors saw the Hemi cars during practice and qualifying. They ordered the Chrysler teams to sandbag. The engines were that obviously faster than everything else on the property.
During the race, it did not matter. Richard Petty led 184 of 200 laps. That record stands at Daytona to this day. He won by 1 full lap and 9 seconds over Jimmy Pardue. Paul Goldsmith finished third. First, second, and third, all Plymouths, all Hemis. Chrysler took 4 of the top 5 spots. It was not close. It was a demonstration. Petty went on to win 9 races that season and the NASCAR Grand National Championship. Hemi-powered cars won 26 of 62 races, entering the schedule at race 8. Ford's response was to develop the 427 Cammer, single overhead cam, over 600 horsepower, built in 90 days. NASCAR banned it, not a production engine. Then NASCAR banned the Hemi for 1965, Same argument, not available in a production vehicle. The rule was applied to 2 engines. One of them was allowed to keep racing. Chrysler and its factory teams boycotted NASCAR for 1965. Petty, David Pearson, Paul Goldsmith, Bobby Isaac, all out. Plymouth built Petty a Barracuda with a Hemi under the hood. They lettered "Outlawed" on the door. He went drag racing. February 28, 1965, Southeastern Dragway, Dallas, Georgia. Petty lost control of the car. It went into the crowd. An 8-year-old boy was killed. 7 others were injured. Petty later wrote, "Nothing in my whole life has ever gotten to me like that." A second car was built. It ran Hillborn fuel injection. It won its class at the Bristol Spring Nationals. Petty's heart was not in it anymore. By mid-season 1965, NASCAR and Chrysler reached a compromise. The Hemi could return under revised rules. Petty climbed back into a Plymouth Fury and won 4 races in 14 starts. By the fall of 1965, Chrysler announced the Street Hemi. To run in NASCAR long-term, the engine had to be a production option, available at any Dodge or Plymouth dealer, sold to the public. Tom Hoover's team had to make it live on pump gas. Compression dropped from 12.5 to 1 down to 10.25 to 1. The camshaft was respec'd for cold starts. They ran warranty studies to make sure the dealer network would not drown in claims. For 1966, you could walk into a showroom and order a 426 Street Hemi, 425 horsepower, 490 pound-feet of torque. Both numbers were low. Dyno tests on correctly restored Street Hemis have pulled 500 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. Chrysler rated it at 5,000, which is where the engine was barely getting started. The horsepower wars had drawn attention from Washington. Chrysler was not going to advertise 500 horsepower in a street car. Petty came back to Daytona in 1966 and won again. Second Daytona 500 victory. First driver to win it twice. The Street Hemi ran in production cars from 1966 through 1971. 6 years, 9,778 cars total. Enough to homologate, not enough to be common. A 1971 Hemi Barracuda convertible sold at auction in 2014 for $3.5 million, one of 7 built. A 1966 Hemi Coronet 4-door sedan, one of 5 ever produced, sold at Barrett-Jackson for $660,000. Rare Hemi cars crack 7 figures. Common ones, if that phrase applies to anything with a Hemi, Steel command 6. Chrysler built 9,778 of them over 6 years. The engine they sold you without a warranty turned out to be the most valuable power plant American muscle ever produced. That was not in the paperwork either.